Chodesh Tov Rabotai. Our friend Boris, he asked us, he's not here, but he asked us a question a couple of days ago, which was, if a person who drank liquor, wine, is he allowed to pray afterwards, say Amidah? This is the question, because what happens is that when a person is drunk, he cannot concentrate properly. So what happens is that he may say things which are not proper, or not have the proper kavanah, the proper intention. This is the reason why we don't want that. So the Chazal said like this, right? It says in the Shulchan Aruch. It says in the Gemara also. The person drank revi'it of wine, revi'it, right? How much is revi'it? 3 ounces. He's not allowed to pray anymore, Amidah, until he gets sobered up. Until he sobers. It depends on each person how long that's going to take, right? Some people may take them a half hour, some people may be more, I don't know, right? Whatever it is, right? Whatever time it takes them to get sober. Revi'it. So then you have somebody who drank more than revi'it, more wine. So he got, drank like serious, 2-3 cups of wine, whatever. Or whatever it was, right? Beer, liquor, whatever it was. It's all the same. Of course, liquor is stronger than wine, right? So you have to calculate that into the formula. But anyway, right? The point is, if you drank more than a beat, so then what we say is like this, don't pray. You're not allowed to pray until everything calms down, right? In your head, you straighten out your head, get sober. But b'diavad, if he did pray, right, let's say he did, right? He didn't pay attention to it. And he did Amidah, right? He went to shul, he prayed. So what's the rule, The rule is that if he can talk to a melech, it says in halacha like this, right? What does that mean? He could go to Trump, talk to him like a normal human being, instead of, not like looking like a fool. You know what I mean? Because he's drunk. So if he can't talk to a melech, can't talk to the president, because he's too drunk, so then he has to pray again. This tefillah that he said was lo yatzai yדי chova. He didn't fulfill his obligation because he's drunk, can't talk normal. Talking like that, like a idiot. That's not proper. You're talking to Melech Malchei Amlachim, right? The King of Kings. So if you can't talk to Trump like this, how can you talk to Hashem? You understand? That's the reason why we say that. But if he could talk to Melech, right? He's not so drunk that he can talk straight, with concentration, straight, without mumbling and jumbling and crazy. So then, b'diavad yatzai yדי chova. He fulfills obligation, even though he wasn't supposed to do it lechatchila. This is what it says in Shulchan Aruch. Okay, so now, right, we have more things to understand. The question is, when you drank, right, how do you sober up? How do you do it, right? What's the secret? So it says in the Gemara, there's 2 ways to sober up after you drink. One way is that a person can take a walk, go for a walk. So if he walks for 18 minutes, 20 minutes, this will bring him out of the drunkenness, right? That he's, intoxicated. It'll bring him out. That's one way. Another way is to sleep. Take a little nap. And this will also take you out from the intoxication. But says Shulchan Aruch, this is only if he drank a revi'it, right? 3 ounces. But if he drank more, then, right, sleeping and walking is going to make it even worse. It's not going to work for you. So the question is, bottom line, right? If that's the case, how do you really, know if you're, ready, if you're sober enough to pray? How do you know? How can you measure this, and how do you gauge it? So you know what the answer is? It says Shulchan Aruch, you gauge it like this, right? If you feel sober, you feel normal, and you can pray, right? You know you're good. Your head is straight. So if that's the case, you're allowed to pray, even if you drank before, 2 or 3 cups of wine. If you know that you're straight, you're allowed to pray. You know what I mean? You have to know yourself, right? You know where you are. If you're talking like an idiot, you're not straight. You know what I mean? If you're talking normal, so then you're good. So this is the way you gauge it, according to Shulchan Aruch. So comes the Ramah and says, you learn from here something important also, another concept which is similar to this, which is that, our wines today, right? They say the Chazal, the Poskim, that they're not so strong, like they used to be. In the old days, the wines were really, really strong. Especially like in the times of the Talmud, they were very strong, the wines over there. You know how strong it was? They had to mix, when they drank wine, they couldn't drink it like straight. They had to mix 3 parts water and 1 part wine. Can you imagine? So it was like, very strong, like vodka, like that's strong. Like this, right? Like whiskey. So that's the thing, so their wines were strong. Our wines are not so strong. What do? We add a little bit water, to the wine, to do mitzvah, mizug, we add a little bit, 3 drops, something like that, right? 1 ounce of water. We don't really add much water. Why? Because the wine is not so strong. You know what I mean? That's the thing. So therefore, our wine, right, is says Ramah, it's not strong. So therefore, if a person drank, right, 1, 2, 3 cups, let's say, right, of wine, but he knows that he's straight, his head is straight. I mean, he can hold the liquor, some people can hold it, right? A person who's used to drinking, he knows how to hold the liquor. So a person like this, if he knows, right, that his head is straight, even though he drank like 3 cups of wine, which is a lot, especially if he drank even more, but the point is, right, that if he knows that his head is straight, says the Ramah, it's okay. You know why? Because the wines are not so strong today, So if a person drinks today, our wine, 3 ounces, it's nothing. You don't even feel it. You understand? That's what, you drink that stuff, you buy in the store, Kedem, Manischewitz, this stuff, it's nothing. It's like Kool-Aid, it's like a soft drink, it's nothing there. They also add a lot of water to it, right? Some of the wines. They add water. But anyway, the point is, right, that if you know that your head is straight, even if you drank a lot, a lot of wine or beer, whatever it was, right, liquor, whatever it was, your head is straight. What does that mean? You can, open the Siddur and read the Siddur, like a normal person. If you can do that, you know yourself you're good, so you're allowed to pray. That's what it says in the Shulchan Aruch, So therefore, our wines, which are not so strong, if a person drank 1 little cup, let's say for Kiddush, right? He drank 1 cup. That's nothing. He's not going to get drunk from that. So therefore, right, he's allowed to pray after that. That's what we're saying, you understand? Unless, he's like a little, little girl, little boy, If he drinks even 1 cup, he's going to go like, oh, he's going to go crazy, right? I remember when I was a kid, I had to tell you, something so funny. I was a kid, it just reminded me right now. You know where I was? I was in Georgia, because I was born there. I was born in Georgia. Tbilisi. So I was there, I was a kid. I remember this, from my childhood. What happened was, they had a party. They had some kind of a party there, So what happened was, there was a cup there, and there was some drink in there. I didn't know this was wine. I was a kid. You know what I mean? So what happened was, I drank the whole cup, and I got like, my head started to spin, This was the first time that I ever tried alcohol. First time in my life. So I started running around like crazy, like a crazy kid. I don't know how old I was, probably like 5 years old. I don't know what it was, And then, what happened? It got me so strong, I just like fell on the bed, and fell asleep. This is what happened to me, And then I woke up like, half hour later, I was like, where am I? I didn't even know where I was. This is what happens, when a child, the first time he drinks alcohol, he doesn't have any tolerance. So he gets really drunk, So it depends on who you are. But if you're an adult already, we've been drinking already for 40, 50 years, a lot of us over here. So what, 1 cup of wine is going to get you drunk? No way. That's the thing, So in a case like that, it's okay, you can pray. But if your head is spinning like this, right? So then wait, don't pray. So now here's the thing, right? The question is, What about if you're gonna miss the minyan, because you're drunk? What's better, to pray drunk or to miss the minyan? Which one is better? You should miss the minyan, right? Exactly. Better to miss. Take a nap. Sleep for a little while, a couple of hours, then wake up and pray. Without a minyan, because now you're drunk, your head is spinning. No good. You cannot pray like that. Right? That's no good, So that's the thing. So better to wait. What about if you're going to miss the tefillah altogether? In other words, you're going to miss shachrit. Too late, for shachrit, right? Too late for mincha. Too late for arvit. Should you wait? You have to wait anyway, even if you're going to miss it. So what do you do? What do you do? If you missed it, right, because you were drunk, your head was spinning, you do tashlumin, right? You make up the tefillah, and the next time, you do two amidah, instead of doing one. So you do 2 times mincha, 2 times shachrit, 2 times arvit, like this, right? Because you missed it, because you were drunk. Anus rachamana pater, right? Hashem absolves you. But here's the thing. We'll finish over here. What about, this is what happens to us on Purim, right? We drink a lot, right? And so what happens is, we have the seudah, let's say in the afternoon, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, we have seudah for Purim. And then, mincha, right? Rabbi says 7 o'clock mincha, I don't know, or 6:30, whatever it is, right? So if you're, the question is, right? Should you come for mincha? So if your head is straight, as we said, right? You got straightened out already. You had time to get straightened out. You can come. If not, wait. But the question is like this, right? What about the Birkat Hamazon? When you eat the Seudat Purim, right? You're really drunk, right? After that. So can you do Birkat Hamazon when you're drunk? This is the question, right? So say the poskim that you are allowed to do Birkat Hamazon when you're drunk. It's not like Amidah, it's not the same thing. Even though Birkat Hamazon is very kadosh, it's from the Torah also, right? It's a very kadosh thing. But nevertheless, right, it's not like the Amidah. The Amidah, it's like Olam Atzilut. You're talking straight to Hashem, face to face to Hashem. It's a different level you need over there, more concentration you need. But when it comes to Birkat Hamazon, we do the best we can, even if you're drunk, you're allowed to say Birkat Hamazon. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen v'Amen. רבי חנן בן קשה אומר, אצל הקדוש ברוך הוא לעסוק בישראל, לפיכך הכיר בה להם תורה ומצוות שממנו יחפש, למען צדקו יגדיל תורה ויאדיר.